The dolphin separated the legs of the girl and thereby saved her life. Today we want to share with you a very special story that's been told for a long time in Russia around the Black Sea. There, a dolphin is said to have saved the life of a little sick girl. The Black Sea is a magical place. Of all the seas in the world, the Black Sea is probably the least known. The bordering countries like Russia, Romania, and Bulgaria were communist for a long time. Even in the Turkish parts of the coast, there is almost only local tourism. Central Europeans much prefer to go to the Mediterranean. For a long time, the Black Sea was a natural paradise populated by millions of dolphins. These marine mammals are said to have special powers all over the world. They're considered angels of the sea, very intelligent, and have saved the lives of many shipwrecked people. In the warm summers at the Black Sea, the visits of dolphins were always a great joy for the people. Often they came very close to the quay walls and beaches. Whenever dolphins were sighted, children would come running to and get very close to these special animals. The dolphins were happy to oblige. They liked the attention. In a small coastal town near the city of Sochi, in what is now Russia, there was a very special pair of dolphin. When they came to the harbor or the beach in the evening, they put on a funny show for the passers-by, the wealthy vacationers and the children. They did flips in the air, laughed the way dolphins do, or splashed the water merrily. The children squealed with joy, and the adults' hearts overflowed at the sight. A gypsy with many children. One evening, the two dolphins had come to the beach once again to get some petting from the humans. Several fine vacationing children had run excitedly to the beach, taking off their shoes to wade into the water to the dolphins. Then a family reached the scene which was not liked in the small town, at least not on the beach, and not where the fine vacationers used to socialize. It was not a real family, but a middle-aged woman who had about 10 children. No one knew for sure. She lived in an old house a little outside the village. Her children were immediately recognizable everywhere, but they did not look at all like their mother. Rumor had it that the woman had all the children from different fathers. After all, some of the types were very dark, like the woman herself, and others were blonde hair. There was even a girl with a Mongolian appearance, and a typical mulatto boy. One could recognize the children of the strange woman by their broken shoes, their sometimes somewhat unkempt appearances, and their self-sewn clothes. Sometimes they begged or asked for scraps of food in the restaurants along the harbor. The mother was only referred to as the Gypsy, yet no one knew for sure if she really was a gypsy. No one knew where she'd come from, if she had any other family, or who she was. That evening, when the woman appeared at the beach with her youngest, the finer children turned up their noses. Some of the parents immediately shouted their children back or came running excitedly. Yet the different children and the woman did nothing at all. The children just wanted to see and pet the dolphins, just like everyone else. An evening with surprises. After the trip to the beach, the woman returned to her modest house with many children. They had managed to collect some leftover food. When the woman stepped up to the weathered garden fence with its small rusty gate, some bags were leaning against a post. The woman looked inside. There were scraps of cloth, some groceries, and a whole bag of tea. Even a bar of chocolate someone had put in there with the things. She smiled. The woman liked these anonymous gifts. There were still enough people who had a heart and saw the world differently. In the house, the woman prepared a feast with the children. She had even received some mussels from a restaurant. People left so much valuable food simply on their plates. No sooner had the meal ended than the woman heard a whimpering outside the door. She got up, opened the door, and saw a bag lying on the threshold. Curious, she unzipped it and couldn't believe what she saw. A newborn baby that looked like a mermaid. In front of the woman was a baby in the bag that looked very strange. The baby's legs seemed to have grown together. Yes, it truly looked like a mermaid. The woman took the bag into the house. It was clear to her what this meant. Once again, somebody had simply abandoned a problem child on her doorstep. The baby got some water. Milk was hardly left in the house. Then the woman sent the other children, who had all been curiously gazing at the baby, to bed. For a long time, she struggled with herself, but then she took heart and made a decision. She knew that she could not bring the child through. Care in Russia at that time was a disaster and practically non-existent. The woman decided to save the disfigured child and went to sea with a bag. Over a rock on the beach, she said a short prayer, asked for forgiveness, and looked at the little girl's face. She was crying. But the woman could not, by any stretch of the imagination, afford another child, however severely handicapped. She took a deep breath and just dropped the girl into the water. She wanted to leave immediately. Her heart was heavy, and she couldn't believe what she had just done. But she remained rooted to the spot. She couldn't walk away, and she couldn't take her eyes off the surface of the water. What she saw there amazed her even more. The baby had gone under for just a tiny moment. Then the pointed fin of a dolphin appeared. The animal took the baby on its back, slipping over the dolphin's dorsal fin. The fin cut straight through the connection of the legs. The woman who had watched everything could hardly believe it. Obviously, the legs had been glued or fused only very gently. Probably any doctor could have separated them with a small cut. But the dolphin had already done that. The girl was saved. As if in a trance, the woman ran along the rocky section of the coast. Only a few hundred meters further, a stretch of beach began. She wanted to get into the water and get the child out. She felt terribly sorry for her mistake at that moment. When she arrived at the beach, she was completely out of breath, but also wildly determined to get into the water immediately and save the baby. She had barely waded a few meters into the shallow water when the dolphins approached her. There were two of them, probably the pair that entertained the guests in the harbor in the evening. The two dolphins balanced the crying baby like a ball on their deft noses. Not once did the little one go completely under. When the woman reached the dolphins, she immediately took the baby. She hugged the little one, apologized, kissed the baby, and looked at the two dolphins in amazement. The dolphins stayed for quite a while. Only when the woman had wrapped the baby safely in one of her skirts on the beach did they seem satisfied. "Thank you, and blessed be your way," she called to the two dolphins. Then she hurried home with the child. The little girl grew up and later published her own story. She also made public who her foster mother was. The woman who everyone only called the Gypsy had not brought a single child into the world herself. All her fosterlings had been found, strayed, or abandoned on her doorstep. She was said to have come from a remote section of Georgia. Fearing the poverty and inhospitable condition of her homeland, she had once set out on a courageous trek to the Black Sea. It was said in her region that there would be prosperity and a very social climate. Already on the way, she had taken in her first foundling. When she arrived at the Black Sea, she had a hard time being accepted. Because of the strange children by her side, she had been immediately condemned. She was thought to be dissolute, unreliable, and to have had many husbands. Eventually, she resigned herself to her fate. Magically, homeless children found their way to her again and again. She raised them, gave her best, and recognized it as her task on earth. At the end of her life, she is said to have been content and happy. She told her daughter, who had already grown up and had once been a little mermaid, that she had never found the wealth and prosperity of others, but that she had found happiness and had been free all her life. What do you think? Did this story happen like that, or was it made up? The mermaid syndrome does exist. It's very rare. Children are born with their legs more or less fused. Most of them do not survive or do not live very long. That dolphins have healing powers is told in legends all over the world. Let us know if you know similar stories. Have you ever been helped by an animal, shown something extraordinary or even magical? Do you believe in something like miracles or lucky coincidences? Share your opinion and experiences with us. We're happy about every contribution, so add yours to the comments.